Breaking news, at least 8 people are dead after a gunman opened fire at a Texas high school. Police say they've also found possible explosive devices around the school and nearby. Trace, I'll turn it over to you.
You know, Dana, your last question was spot on, because we have learned in the wake of the Parkland shooting that, in fact, that Nicholas Cruz had 58 disciplinary actions against him in a 5-year span. In fact, one of those should have brought him before a judge, but because of a diversion program, he never made it before a judge. That's exactly what these schools will be talking about. I want to bring in Michael Yorio. He's the president of a company called SSI Guardian that actually developed the first university-accredited active shooter training program. And Michael, you know, you go on the website of Santa Fe High School and they talk about the changes they made in the wake of the shooting at Sandy Hook and how they changed the entire protocol. They had 2 resource officers that were armed on classes. They went over these active shooting drills. How much of a factor do you think that played into what you're seeing happening today in Santa Fe?
Good afternoon, Trace. Thank you for having me. What they did, having school resource officers there, is a best practice. I would say that's a good step. If you're going through the proper evidence-based training, that too would be a proper step. When it comes to the actual exercises, if they are planned, that's the right way to do it. What you want to be careful of are doing unannounced exercises. So I don't know what policy was in place for this particular school, but you don't want to do these things randomly, such as a fire drill, because as I heard your last guest say, sometimes you think it's a fire drill, so you're walking out, you're not taking it serious, because we're used to doing these on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. And is that the thing? Because this is about a 3rd or 4th time we've heard about the fire drill being used in these school shooting situations, Michael. Is it a case of where you know that these guys going in, we've seen many terrorist events around the world, where they're trying to attract students to go their way, and the fire alarm might be one of those resources they use to get people to come in their direction?
It's definitely a strategy. We saw a similar incident take place in Parkland, which this active shooter threat is constantly evolving. In the past, we didn't see so much of the fire alarm being used, but in this event today and with Parkland, we see that fire alarm was utilized. Now, I've heard and read, Trace, conflicting reports that the attacker pulled the fire alarm. I also read another report where the students had pulled the fire alarm to help people evacuate. So we don't know that for certain at this point.
Michael, this is your business. I mean, you do this all the time, so you know the studies. You have done this again and again. What, in your estimation, is the best defense for these high schools around the country? They talk about banning guns. We know in the near future that's just not going to happen. What do these schools do? Rand Paul was saying we need to protect our schools every single day. What's the best defense these schools can have?
Look, there are existing best practices that schools can implement today. We don't have to try to reinvent and recreate things, but stick to security best practices that we know have been proven to keep schools safer. It all starts with evidence-based advanced training that trains you on preparation, mitigation, and of course response. Another best practice would be to having the right equipment in place, practicing the plan, practicing the training that you incurred. So there's a plethora of things schools can do today, things that do not cost $1 million or $1 billion to implement. So it's important that there's a lot of ideas out there now, Trace. It's very important that we stay focused on the best practices, do what we can do today that we know that works, and really make a difference. These events keep happening time and time again, but if we keep relying on the same failed strategies, we truly can't expect a different result.
Yeah, something's got to change. Michael Yorio, the president of SSI Guardian. Michael, very good of you to join us. And Dana, he makes a great point, because when you talk about changing the routine and changing the